محمد وآل محمد.
نعرہ تکبیر،
الله أكبر.
نعرہ تکبیر،
الله أكبر.
نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ حیدری، حسینیت
زندہ باد.
حسینیت
زندہ باد.
یزیدیت
मुर्दाबाद.
یزیدیت
मुर्दाबाद.
اور محمد و اہل بیت محمد بلندتر صلوات.
محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الغرر الميامين سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وهجته إلى الخلائق أجمعين سيدنا وإمام زماننا وصاحب نعمتنا وولي الأمرنا ومهدي هذا الأمة وطووس أهل الجنة الحجة ابن الحسن العسكري فداه أرواح العالمين صلوات. These nights of grief are now increasing. These nights for Abu Abdullah are now coming into fruition. When we remember these nights, again as we were saying yesterday, try to connect yourself with Abu Abdullah Hussein. Try to bring yourself closer towards this tragedy. As tonight we remember Abu Fadl Abbas. Abu Fadl Abbas, a man who broke the barriers of loyalty, a man who throughout history nobody could even compare with when it comes to the way he obeyed his master Abu Abdullah Hussein, to the extent that when he wanted to drink water, even then he would think about his master Abu Abdullah Hussein. And the tragedy of Abu Fadl Abbas is such that inshallah tonight we'll recite it from the Maqtal as well, so that we can get an understanding of exactly what happened to Abu Fadl Abbas during the day of Ashura. But when it comes to oppression, the Ahlul Bayt have always been oppressed. When it comes to oppression, the Ahlul Bayt went through certain things within their life that the majority of them were always oppressed. I mean, we start off by looking at the Prophet. Especially within his life, there's a story that we would like to mention. One day the Prophet is walking through the marketplace and there is an old woman that would begin to throw rubbish upon the Prophet. Now she would throw rubbish upon the Prophet every day when he was walking past this marketplace. And we know that if somebody was to act in such a way with us, how would we react to that? How would we then retaliate to an individual that is treating us in such a way? Yet every day she would throw this rubbish upon the Prophet until one day she didn't throw the rubbish. Now generally it would be, thank God she isn't here anymore, but the way the Prophet responded back was, he said, where is that woman that was throwing that rubbish upon me? She wasn't a woman that followed the religion of Islam. Where is this woman that was throwing rubbish on me? She started to inquire about it from within the people, and they told him that she is not feeling well. So what did the Prophet do? He came to her house. He came and sat down next to her. Now when she seen the Prophet, the first thing that she noticed was, oh no, this is the man that I'm throwing rubbish upon. This is the man that I have been abusing all this time. Now he's come into my house. He might now turn around and take some sort of revenge against me, take some sort of retaliation against me. However, when the Prophet came and said, the only reason I have come here is to inquire about you. The only reason I have come here is to see how you are doing. She was taken aback by this so much. Remember, we represent our religion. Especially when we are living here, there's a narration from Imam Sadiq in which he states, live your life in such a way that you become a blessing and adornment for us, the Ahlul Bayt. Not a reason for people to look down upon us. Live your lives in such a way that you are representing the Ahlul Bayt. When the Prophet, especially when it comes to revenge, look at the conquest of Makkah. The Prophet was taken out of his home within the city of Makkah. He lived in the valley of Abi Talib, Shibi Abi Talib, for 2.5 years. Now during this time, the Prophet was eating leaves and drinking water. He was living a life in such hardships. Then when he came to the city of Medina and he established a government, he now goes back to the city of Makkah.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل
his religion through his actions. How? When he came back to the city of Mecca, now he's come as the king. Before, he was oppressed and led out of this place. But how did the Prophet react? Now when Abu Sufyan and him and the exact members that had kicked the Prophet out and oppressed him were now in chains in front of the Prophet. Were now in ropes in front of the Prophet. And when the Prophet arrived within the vicinity, the first thing he said is, do not oppress these individuals. Just take a step back and think that how would we react in that situation? How would we take revenge against individuals that had, for example, kicked us out of our house? We mentioned before, the slightest of thing that happens, well, my cousin will see you tonight, or we'll see you tomorrow. We live, and it's a norm the way we live, but try to reflect back as much as you can on the lives of the Ahlul Bayt. Now when he came back into the city, he came as a king now. When he left, he was forced out. But look at the way he treated his enemies. Look at the way he approached his enemies. He would say to them, do not oppress them. Islam is not a religion of oppression. Islam is in fact not even a religion that forces you to accept this religion. We have a religion that says it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that guides the heart. Our job is just to state the facts. When you bring someone towards the religion of Islam, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has seen that person worthy enough to come into this beautiful religion. Our job is just to provide the information that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that will guide them. Even with Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was the king at the time, the Khalif at the time. And he's going on a journey with a Jewish individual. Look at the humility of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When Amir al-Mu'mineen was going on this journey, he's the Khalif of the time. He's the king of the time. He is the ruler of the time. Yet when he was going on this journey, he accompanies a Jewish individual that is going on his destination. Amir al-Mu'mineen is only going towards Kufa. This individual is going towards Basra. When Amir al-Mu'mineen is walking with this individual on his journey, because that person carried on speaking to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he carried on accompanying him on his journey. It came to a stage where Kufa was on the right, Basra was on the left, Amir al-Mu'mineen carried on joining. This person doesn't know who this is. He's just carrying on with his journey and he's walking and talking to Amir al-Mu'mineen. After a while he stops. And he says, were you not supposed to go to Kufa? He said, I was. He said, why have you come this far out? He said, the etiquettes of my religion are such that when you are accompanying somebody until they give you the permission to leave and walk away, we do not depart from that person. Or there's a narration that walks 70 steps towards that individual that is going on his journey. The etiquettes of Islam. When you are within your own household and a guest is leaving, it is recommended to at least walk them towards the door. At least walk them towards the car. We speak about this, you'll remember that especially when it goes up 2 generations, especially when it comes to the grandparents, you'll notice, or even the mothers, that when you go to somebody's house and you're leaving, they're standing outside. When you're in the car getting ready, they're still standing at the door. When you are leaving, they are there waving at you. They are bidding you farewell as you are leaving. These small things go a long way, especially when it comes to within the religion. Now he's a king, he's a ruler, he has a shield. He's in the marketplace. He puts the shield down for a few seconds while he goes to buy some items from the marketplace. A Jewish individual comes forward and takes that shield. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, this is my shield. He said, no, this is my shield. How would you react in that situation? This is the king of the entire Islamic state. Now he looks, this individual has taken his shield. He says, I'll take you to court for this. We'll see what we can do about this. Amir al-Mu'mineen then comes and stands in front of the court. Amir al-Mu'mineen is now standing there as the person starts off. He introduces the other individual by his name. When he mentions Amir al-Mu'mineen, he starts praising him. The Imam says, stop. If you're calling him by his name, you're calling me by my name as well. This is the adalat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the court of justice. Now as they're speaking about this individual and this act, and they're speaking about the shield, the person is now giving examples that this shield is his. Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, do you have any witnesses present here today? No, I don't. Right now, no, I do not have any witnesses. Then that person then concluded by saying this shield now goes to the other individual. This shield goes to that person. Why? Because according to the justice that has taken place today, in this courtroom, that person has a right upon this shield. How does Amir al-Mu'mineen react?
Does he say, no, this is mine? Does he abuse his power? Does he say, no, this is mine, she will give it back to me and force it from that person? No. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, if this is the way it occurs, then that's fine, you can take it. As that person is leaving, his friend says, do you know what you did? He said, you took the governor, the king of the Islamic State to court. You knew that shield wasn't yours. How did he react towards you? How did he take that back from you? And when the people were talking about this, that person came running towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he would say, Ya Ali, you are the governor, you are the king. Forgive me, I didn't know who you were. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, you should not know who I am within this court and justice system. I don't differentiate between myself and others. In this courtroom, I want you to get justice according to the way the things are running within the government at the time. Now that you know who I am, that person would say, I want to accept this religion, Ya Ali. I want to accept the religion towards you. When we think about Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, when we talk about him before the events of Karbala, did you know in the Battle of Siffin, Shimr, the individual that would cut the neck of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, was on the opposition in the Battle of Nahrawan. He was in the opposition in chains and tied down. Aba Abdullah would say to his father, oh my father, can we release these individuals from these chains? Can we give them water and drink? As we know who this person is, we know what he's going to do to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein on the day of Ashura. That the mercy and compassion that Aba Abdullah is showing, it is such that even though this person may do something in the future, right now, release him from these chains. And there's a conversation that takes place between Shimr and Aba Abdullah al-Hussein as well. And in this conversation, he is thanking Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. And the Imam just says to him, just remember that when somebody is in chains, when somebody is oppressed, and you are the bigger individual, show mercy towards that person. Show compassion towards that person. Live your life in such a way that we resemble these role models that are the Ahlul Bayt. You look at the youth of Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein alayhimus salam. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That one day there is an individual in the mosque performing wudu. Now if somebody does something wrong, we're at the very forefront to say, that's wrong, this is right. Just try to think about the way the Ahlul Bayt would do this. Now there's an old individual about to perform wudu in the mosque and he's doing it wrong. He's performing it in such a way that he is doing it wrong. How would you react in that situation? You'd laugh at him probably. You'd say, look at you, look how old you are, you don't even know how to do wudu. Yet the conversation, the way that these two individuals take, is to say, oh old man, my brother and I are about to partake in the act of ablution. I want you to watch how I do it and watch how my brother does it and tell us which one is wrong from the two of us. When that person is noticing and watching this, he then replies back by saying, I am ashamed. I am ashamed because both of you are doing it right. It is me who is doing it wrong. This is the way the Ahlul Bayt began to guide individuals towards this. You look at our fourth Imam as well. After Karbala, after what Imam went through during his life, during Karbala, after the events of Karbala, and now he comes back within the city of Medina. How does he treat individuals? These same people that murdered and massacred your family members. Look at the way he treats them with compassion. Look at the way he treats them with love. Gives them water when they need it. Answers their prayers when they need it. Now there was a confusion when the Imam came back to the city of Medina. The individuals assumed that Khilafat was something that would stay within the lineage of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Because you had the second Imam, Imam Hassan, then you had Imam Hussein. Now they naturally assumed that another son of Amir al-Mu'mineen would then become the next Imam. The Imam, when he came back, he used his uncle Muhammad ibn Hanafiya as a means of communicating with the people, as a means of guiding the people. He would give them letters to send to individuals across the globe to give them the information about Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. But the people came to a stage where they naturally assumed that Muhammad ibn Hanafiya is now going to be the next ruler. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya is now going to be the person that is the next caliph because he is the one that is guiding us and bringing us towards the path. Then a very famous incident occurs. Hajar Aswad. This stone within the Kaaba used to be white, it is now black. What is this stone? It came from the heavens. It came here to testify about the way we live our lives in this world. They came towards Hajar Aswad. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya never claimed to be the Imam of the time. They came towards Hajar Aswad. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, Imam Zainul Abidin. The entire Muslim congregation is standing there as well. They are about to now have a conversation. As this conversation takes place, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya says to Hajar Aswad, who is the Imam of the time? There is no response. Who is the ruler of the time? There is no response. And then when the Imam would then say to Hajar Aswad, who is the Imam of the time? The stone would reply back to the fourth Imam and say, you, O son of Ali, son of Hussein, son of Ali, you are the Imam of this time. This is how the Ahlul Bayt were. If they wanted to prove something, it wasn't hard for them to do this. The reason why the Imam did this was because he wanted to show the individuals so they don't go astray. He wanted to show the individuals that this is the way we live our lives. You look at Imam al-Qadim in a lifetime in prison. Imam al-Qadim would be in prison such that they say that the ceiling was so low, the Imam couldn't stand up. He was in prison for many, many years. Try to think about this Mazloom Imam. But look at the way the gods used to observe this Imam. The Bani Abbas, every time that they wanted to get the gods to poison this Imam, they couldn't. Because the gods would say, yes, this is a prisoner. Yes, this is a person who we are oppressing. But after spending a few days with them, we can't go ahead and oppress them to such an extent that we would take their lives. We can't do this to the Imam. Why? He would always ask the gods how they are feeling. He would always make sure that they are okay. They would always be in a position of prostration. When we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why have you brought this calamity upon me? Why have you put me in such a position where I am feeling suffering and pain? How does the Imam reply? He says, oh Allah, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity of being alone so that I can worship you with the utmost certainty. So that I can worship you without any distractions. This is the way the Imams live their lives. You look at Nabi Nuh, for example, a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that lived this life 2,500 to 3,000 years according to our narrations. He was then told one day that there is going to come a time when individuals would live for 70, 80 years max. That's their entire lifespan. And the prophet would reply back by saying, if I was to live 70 years, I would spend the entire time in one prostration. 70 years of my life, I would spend it within one prostration. So the Ahlul Bayt lived their lives in this way. The Ahlul Bayt brought this religion towards people through their actions. But tonight we remember Abul Fadl al-Abbas. And tonight I would like to remember Abul Fadl al-Abbas from the maqtals that we have. Speak about the narrations of Abul Fadl al-Abbas. But before we speak about the tragedy that occurred, Abul Fadl al-Abbas was born for the night of Ashura. Abul Fadl al-Abbas came to this world, a dua from Amir al-Mu'mineen, for the night of Ashura. A conversation takes place between Sayyidah Zainab and Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Now in this conversation they say, Sayyidah Zainab says, Ya Abbas, oh my brother, this is not something that I wanted to mention to you before. But now that we are here on the night of Ashura, the reason why my father had married Banin was so that you could be born, so that this is your duty to protect us tonight. And when we remember Abul Fadl al-Abbas throughout the battle of Karbala, on several occasions, again and again and again, he would ask Aba Abdullah for permission. He would ask Aba Abdullah, is it possible for me to go? Is it possible for me to fight? Is it possible for me to enter the battlefield? It was very difficult for Aba Abdullah to give permission to Abul Fadl al-Abbas. It was very difficult for him to say, I want you to go. This person is the backbone of Imam al-Hussein. This person is the standard bearer of the army. When we remember Abul Fadl al-Abbas, we say that when Abbas saw the death toll rising, he stood up and ordered his brothers, Abdullah, Ja'far and Uthman, to enter the battlefield. When they were all killed, they say that Imam Hussein was standing there. Abul Fadl al-Abbas came and said to him, "Oh my brother, please give me permission to go and fight." Imam Hussein did not want to lose Abbas. Tears filled the eyes of Hussein. "Akhi anta hamilu liwa'i." "Oh my brother, you are the bearer of my flag. If you die, my entire army will collapse and my enemies will rejoice." Abbas replied, "I am tired of these hypocrites. I cannot stand the sounds of the children crying out of thirst. The sounds of Al-Atash is killing me. I want to seek my revenge." When Hussein saw Abbas adamant about fighting, he said to him, "My brother, in kana wala bud fadlub lihaula al-atfal sharbatan min al-ma'." If you must, then go Abbas and seek some water for these thirsty children. Abbas immediately mounted his horse. He took the container towards the battlefield. He cut through them like a lion. He was surrounded by 4,000 troops who shot at him with their arrows, but he did not fear the multitudes. The standard hoisted over his head. Abbas is now attacking them, causing them to flee. He managed to reach the river with courage. As soon as he reached the river, Abbas extended his hands to drink. Now remember, there is a narration from Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq in which he states, "My uncle Abbas, when he reached the river Euphrates, his heart was burning like burning charcoal." Abbas's heart is right now like charcoal. Can you imagine Abul Fadl Abbas? Just take a second and try and picture this. A man that has not had water for 3 days. A man that is very thirsty. No one would have blamed Abul Fadl Abbas if he had a drink at that moment. No one would have said to him, "What you did was wrong." But his loyalty to Aba Abdullah was such that he would take the water, bring it towards himself. He wouldn't drink the water, he would throw it back into the river, and then he would say, "Ya nafs min ba'd al-Husayn huni, wa ba'dahu ma kunti aw takuni, hadha Husaynun waridul manuni, wa tashrabina barid al-ma'ini." He couldn't drink while Hussein and the children were still thirsty. He would fill the water skin, and he would begin to go back towards the tent. Umar ibn Sa'ad said, "Ensure that Abbas does not reach back to the river. If Abbas reaches back, then the enemy will be rejuvenated, and then they will fight you in such a way that we may not be able to win." But Abul Fadl al-Abbas had one thing in his mind. In his mind was, "I go back and give the water to the children." Now something that we talk about Abul Fadl al-Abbas, something that is very difficult. He was shot with over 300 arrows. But when one of the individuals was hiding behind a palm tree, Hakim ibn Tufail would come and he would strike Abbas on the right arm, immediately severing it off. Abbas would cry out, "Wallah in katahtumu yamini, inni uhami abadan an dini, wa an imam sadiq al-yakini, sibt al-nabi al-tahir al-amini." He would move the container in his left arm until Hakim came out and severed the left arm of Al-Fadl al-Abbas. He would say, "Ya nafsu la takhshay min al-kuffari." "Oh Abbas, do not fear the disbelievers." Then he would mount his horse and go towards the battlefield. Now we know at this moment there are 300 arrows that are being fired at Abul Fadl al-Abbas. One arrow comes and shoots Abbas fi aini. It shoots Abbas within the eye. But even now Abbas did not lose hope. The second arrow that was fired was in the chest of Abbas, was in the chest of Abul Fadl al-Abbas. But even then he did not lose hope, because he had a mission. His mission was to make sure that the water goes back to the children. At that moment they say a third arrow was fired. This arrow was fired straight into the water skin. As this pierced the water skin, all the water would begin to fall down. فَوَقَفَ الْعَبَّاسُ مُتَحَيِّرًا. At this moment Abbas felt perplexed. Why would Abbas, the son of Ali, be perplexed? Because he has no hands to fight with, no water to take back to the thirsty children. At this moment they say that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas stopped to pause for a second. This pause was him thinking, now what shall I do? At the moment they say that an individual would come from behind with a metal pole. He would strike Abbas on the top of his head. Abbas would fall off the horse and land on the ground. I ask you, O Muslims, when a man falls to the ground, he uses his hands to shield that fall. Abbas has no hands. When Abbas is about to fall, how does he land on the ground? But also remember, there is an arrow in the eye of Abbas. So as he falls onto the ground, what happens to that arrow? Abu Abdullah then rushes towards Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. At this moment, Abbas did not know who this individual was that was coming. So he'd say to him, I take you by the oath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever you are, just wait until Abu Abdullah al-Hussein comes. I'm just waiting for my brother. You know, he never called him brother his entire life. But the first time that he did call him brother was when he fell off the horse. As he fell off the horse, he would say, Akhi adrik akhak. Oh my brother, rescue your brother. Imam Hussein would run to him. He would say, right now my back has been broken. Right now I have been oppressed. The enemy members would stand around them. They would clap and laugh. And they would say, we have killed Abbas. They would say, we have taken Abbas from them. Imam Hussein would take the head of Abbas and he would place it within his own lap. At that moment, Abbas would take his head out. Then the Imam would place it again. Then he would take it out. On the third instance, they say, Abu Abdullah says, Ya Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, why is it that you are doing this? He says, oh my master, oh my brother, right now, I've got you here and you are putting my head in your lap. But in a few moments, Ya Hussein, what will happen to the children? What will happen to you when there is nobody to take your head? Then he says, I have one more request. This request is, do not take my body back to the tent, for I promised the children water. Imam Hussein is seen coming back towards the tent, crying. He's wiping the sleeves with his tears on the sleeves of his shirt. At that moment, Sayyidah Zainab sees that the flag is coming. So she gets happy, saying, Abbas is now arriving back. She says, Abbas is coming back. Sayyidah Sakina is also standing there. She's looking and noticing that there is a flag that is coming back. As she's going towards them, they notice that the Imam is coming on his own. So Sayyidah Zainab would say, Wa Abbasa, Wa Akha. Sayyidah Sakina would then at that moment say, oh my father, where is my uncle Abbas? Is it because of me that Abbas has not come back? Is it because I asked for water that he has not come back? Ask my uncle to come back, and I promise I will never ask for water again. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyul qalbi al-karim.
Muhammad wa ali bayt Muhammad bulandar salavat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bari digar salavat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Nara takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Nara takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Nara risalat.
Ya Rasulullah.
Nara risalat.
Ya Rasulullah.
Nara hadri.
Ya Ali.
Nara hadri.
Ya Ali.
Husaniya.
Zindabad.
Husaniya.
Zindabad.
Yazidiya.
Murdabad.
Yazidiya.
Murdabad.
Bar Muhammad wa ali bayt Muhammad bulandar salavat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
ये थे ब्रदर मोहम्मद तकवी साहब जिन्होंने मसाहिब कमरे बनी हाशिम बयान किए। इसके बाद ब्रदर अली ज़ामन काज़मी जो है वो अलम में शबिए अलम बरामद करवाएंगे। सरकार वफ़ा चंद एक मारूज़ात अर्ज़ करनी है कि अभी इसके बाद जंजीर ज़नी होगी, उसके लिए टेंट बाहर नस्ब किया जा चुका है। और उसके बाद जो अमाले शब आशूर होंगे वो ठीक 12 बजे स्टार्ट हो जाएंगे कल, जिनको मौलाना वकार नकवी साहब जो है वो करेंगे। और कल रात को ताबूत शहज़ादा अली अकबर बरामद होगा। और योम आशूर की मजलिस ठीक 3 बजे होगी। पाबंदी वक्त की रिक्वेस्ट है इंतज़ामिया की तरफ से। اور لیڈیز کے لیے اعلان ہے کہ جنہوں نے علم کے لیے دوپٹے لینے ہیں وہ مسز حاجی سجاد شاہ صاحب سے رابطہ کریں، وہ وہاں سے دے سکتی ہیں۔ درود پڑھیے محمد و آل بیت محمد پر۔ آج کا دن قمر بنی ہاشم سے منسوب ہے۔ قمر بنی ہاشم یعنی بنی ہاشم کا چاند، یہ وہ ہستی ہے کہ جو امام حسین جیسے حسین و جمیل امام کے ہوتے ہوئے، شہزادہ علی اکبر جیسے ہم شکل پیغمبر کے ہوتے ہوئے قمر بنی ہاشم کہلاتا تھا۔ یہ آس تھا سیدہ زینب سلام اللہ علیہا کی، اور سیدہ زینب سلام اللہ علیہا حضرت غازی عباس علمدار کی آس پہ کربلا آئی تھی۔ ایک روایت ملتی ہے کہ جب سارے سر کربلا سے شام لے جائے گئے اور سارے سر پہچانے جاتے تھے، ایک سر پہ لوگ بہت ہنستے تھے، تو جب سیدہ زینب سلام اللہ علیہا نے دیکھا تو بی بی زینب نے گریہ کیا، کہا کہ یہ وہ اس ہستی کا سر ہے جس کو ہم قمر بنی ہاشم کہتے ہیں۔ جب بھی نوک نیزہ پہ حضرت غازی عباس علمدار کا سر بلند ہوتا اور ان کی نظر سیدہ زینب سلام اللہ علیہا کے سر پہ پڑتی تو سر نوک نیزہ سے گر کر گھوڑے کے گلے میں آ جاتا، اور راستے کی تمام دھول اور جو راستے کی گرد ہے اس سے سر اتنا وہ سر پہ جمع ہو گئی کہ وہ پہچانا نہیں جا رہا تھا۔ یہ ہے وفا حضرت عباس علمدار کی، جو ہمیں سکھاتی ہے کہ امام کی اطاعت کیسے کی جاتی ہے۔ بے شک وہ امام کے بھائی تھے، اور امام وقت کی اطاعت انہوں نے کیسے سکھائی، یہ ہمارے لیے مشل راہ ہے۔ اب میں بلا تاخیر ملتمس ہوں برادر علی زامن کاظمی صاحب سے کہ وہ آئیں اور شبیہ سرکار وفا برآمد کروائیں۔ درود پڑھیے محمد و آل بیت محمد پر۔
پھر بھی صلوات پڑھیں۔ نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، حسینیت، یزیدیت، محمد والے بیت محمد ذات بلند تر صلوات۔ اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الحمدللہ رب العالمین، الصلاۃ والسلام علی اشرف الانبیاء والمرسلین، شفیع المذنبین وخاتم النبیین بالقاسم محمد، والصلاة والسلام علی حسین الغریب، شہید لفشان برد کربلا، کفن کوئی نہیں ملا، ایک کفن نہیں ملیا، اندی بیڑ کو چادر نہیں ملیا، الذي قال وقت وداعه من الخيام يا أم كلثوم ويا سكينة عليكنا مني سلام هن الله دے حوالے سارے رو پے او غریباں دا رونا بڑا ثواب ہے کوئی بڑا بڑا غریب ہے زہرا دلال اللہ دے جسم ہو ریان جیندے تان دے کپڑے لٹے گئے اللہ دے غسل ہو ودمو جیندے جسم دا خون اس دا غسل بنے اللہ دے حرمہ اسیرون فی الکوفت وشام روڑ لیا جندیاں بھیڑی رل گئیاں او فوج کتھے جیندہ میں جرنیلا کے قدماتے ہاتھ لا کے وہ حیران ہمیں اجاں چپ بیٹھائے اکبر جیا پتر مرا وہ حیران ہمیں اجاں چپ بیٹھائے اکبر جیا پتر مرا کے غازی آدھائی میں کٹر دے ویلے میری ماں اکھیائے تے روزے تے ہاتھ رکھوا کے کیڑی گل ہو لٹے کوئی نہ چادر بی بی زینب دی تیری زندگی دے وچ وہ لٹے کوئی نہ چادر بی بی زینب دی تیری زندگی دے سونا روئے اتھوئی بس نزدیک تو شروع کر لگا آج ابو الفضل العباس دی مجلس ہے سکینہ دے چاچے دی مجلس ہے کہ جی روون واسطے تیار بیٹھے ہو تو ایک لفظ مصائب دا آکھاں آج بی بی زینب دے برکے دی مجلس ہے 10 محرم دا ڈیئے سکینہ چاچے کو لائیے ویکھیا کہے چاچا زمین تے بیٹھا ہے ہاتھ مردا ہے اچھے وین کر کر کے آدھا ہے ہن بھی اجازت دے پچھا اینا تیرا اکبر کیوے مانگو صدقے بھائی کوشش کرے آج بہت بڑا پرسن سکینہ چاچے کو لائیے چاچے دے پاسے ہاتھ بن کے آدھیے چاچا میرا 6 مہینے دا برا بڑا تسائی چاچا تو میرے پیو دی فوج دا سپا سالار ہیں میں تیرے اگے منت پہ کریں دیا جا میں دریائے فرات تھوڑا جا پانی کی ناب متا میرا 6 مہینے دا برا بچدا ہو سکینہ دے گل کرن دی دیر آئی یا جلدی دے نال عباس اپنے خیمے دے اندر آئیں جناب فضل دی ماں دے پاسے دے کے آدھیں ہون سردار دی اجازت دے چھوڑیے جس وقت دا میں نو انتظار ہے نا وہ وقت آ گیا ہے جلدی کر فضل نو آکھ میرا گھوڑا لے آوے جناب فضل جلدی دے نال غازی عباس دا گھوڑا لے آئیں غازی عباس نے تلوار چاہیے گھوڑے تے چڑھن دا ارادہ کیتا ہے غازی عباس یک دم رونا شروع کیتا ہے جناب فضل دی ماں اگاں ودی آواز آیا غازی تو آٹے جا بہادر تے رونا کیوں رو پے ہو اس ویلے غازی آدھا ہے آج غریب ہو گیا آواز آدھا ہے کیوں غریب ہو گیا ہے غازی آدھا ہے اگاں جدہ میں گھوڑے تے چڑھن دا ارادہ کریں دا ہاں نا تے سجے پاسو اکبر آویں دا ہاں کبے پاسو قاسم آویں دا ہاں میرا اللہ آج میں اتنا غریب ہو گیا میرے گھوڑے تے سوار کراون اڑے ٹر گئے یا یک دم ایویں 2 مہندی والے ہاتھ رکھا بھی چاہیں آواز آدھا ہے چاچا چڑھا میں کبرا دے ہاتھ حاضر نہیں صدقے بھائی صدقے صدقے بہت سونی غازی گھوڑے تے چڑھن پہلا خیام دا چکر لایا یا دوسرا چکر اجے مکمل نہیں ہویا غازی عباس نے یک دم ویکھیا سکینہ گھوڑے دے اگوں ہاتھ بنی کھڑوتی غازی جلدی دے نال تلے آئے آدن سردار دی دی ہیں ہاتھ بن کے کیوں کھڑو گئی ہیں آواز آتا ہے چاچا یا لہ آتے یا ٹر جا آواز آتا ہے کیوں آکے یا لہ جا یا ٹر جا آپ تے تو میں نے ہون اجازت دیتی ہے اس ویلے آدھی ہے چاچا تو پہلا چکر لایا ہے 7 وار میرا پیو زمین تے جڑی آئی تیرے گھوڑے دا دوسرا چکر اجا مکمل نہیں ہویا 3 وار میرا پیو زمین تے جڑی آئے تے اچھی حقل مار کے آدھا ہے ہائے ہوئے میری کمر ترٹ گئی ہے ہائے میں غریب ہو گئی ہوں صدقے ہن غازی ٹر دے اوتھے آئے جتھے مظلوم مٹی تے بیٹھا ہویا غازی مظلوم بھی راہ نال گل نہیں کیتی رونا شروع کیتا ہے یکدم غریب نے ایویں نظراں اٹھائیاں تے ویکھیا غازی روندا ہے آواز آتا ہے غازی تو میرا بہادر ویر ہے تو تے روندا ہے تو کیوں پیا رونا ہے اس ویلے غازی عباس دی اچھی کوک آئی ہے مولا میں اج دا رونا مولا 28 رجب یاد ہے جڑے ویلے میں آکھیا زینب جی بہن نو وطن نہ چھڑا زینب جی بہن نو جنگلاں وچ نہ رلا تو آکھیا غازی تو چپ میں چپ رہا میں گٹ کے روندا رہا میں چپ کے روندا رہا مولا 28 سفر یاد ہے انہاں مسلماناں چٹے دین تیرے برا حسن دا میت مدینے دیاں گلیاں وچوں واپس ملایا تو آکھیا غازی تو لڑنا نہیں میں چپ رہا میں گٹ کے روندا رہا میں چھپ کے روندا رہا مولا 10 ذی الحج یاد ہے ہر غریب امیر عیداں دیاں خوشیاں چ مصروفہ میری بہن رقیہ دی جوڑی واندے دریا تے بے دردی نال کسدی رہی ہے تو آکھے غازی تو لڑنا نہیں میں چپ رہا میں گٹ کے روندا رہا میں چھپ کے روندا رہا اس ویلے میرے مولا دی آواز ہے غازی تا میں اوہ حسین مدینے وچ بھی ہاں تے میں اوہ حسین کربلا وچ بھی ہاں غازی میرا آج بھی حکم ہے تو لڑنا نہیں اس ویلے غازی دی تلوار زمین تے ڈٹھیے تے غازی برا دے پاسے دے کے اچھی کوک مار کے آدھا جے نہیں لڑنی جنگ کربل دے او میں کیوں جرنیل بنائے او بے اشمر دے سامنے زینب دا میں تو خیمہ کیوں پٹوائے غازی آدھا میں کو سمجھی آئی پتار بیگانی مادہ او میرا جا صبر ازمائے او تے کو ماں پچھ سی پابند کر کے او میرا غازی کیوں مروائے غازی دے میں ہاتھ جڑ گئے مولا دے پاسے دے کے آدھا جے جنگ دی اجازت نہ دے اتنی اجازت تا دے نا میں تیری دی واسطے پانی بھی نہ ہاں اس ویلے میرا مولا حسین رو کے آدھا عباس میری طرف تا اجازت ہے جا اس کو اجازت مانگ جڑی تیرے آسرے تے وطن مدینہ چھوڑ کے آئی غازی ٹردا علی دی دے خیمے دے بارو آیا خیمے دے بارو کھڑو کے رونا شروع کیتا ہے اندرو دی علی دی عزتاں والی دی ایویں لڑ چادر دا ہٹایا ہے تے عباس دے سامنے آئیے اچھا بین کر کے آدھی غازی آج حکم پہ دینیاں آج میرے پاسے ویک غازی دیاں ایویں نظرہ چکیاں ہوئی ہیں نا یک دم غازی ایویں نظر اوپر کیتی ہے بی بی زینب دے سر کو چادر لتھی ہوئی ہے بی بی رو کے پہ آدھی ہے جے ویندہ ہے تاں وانجوے غازی او ایک منت بنی تے لائے وانج او کل ملنے زیور قیدیاں والے جیویں باوڑے نہ سمجھائی وانج بی بی آدھی ہے کیویں ٹرنا سوڑیا گلیا وچ او لے ٹر کے ویر وکھائی وانج او کیویں بولن نال شرابی دے او لے بول کے ویر وہ کیویں بولن نال شرابی دے غازی دریائے فرات دے پاسے ٹرن نہ تیر نہ ہاتھ وچ کوئی تلوار نہ کوئی نیزہ انہاں حرامیاں نو یکدم پتہ لگا جو غازی دے ہاتھ وچ نہ کوئی شے نہیں نہ تلوار نہ تیر ہن پک ہو گیا ہے غازی نہیں لڑنا غازی دے گھوڑے فرات دے پاس ٹریا ہے فرات دے سامنے آ کے دریائے فرات آ کے اگلے قدم گھوڑے فرات دے لائن غازی یاد ہے گھوڑا جلدی کر پانی پی گھوڑے وچ آواز ہے مولا پانی کیویں پیواں حسین دی 4 سال دی دی دسی حسین دا 6 مہینیاں دا پتر دسا ہے عباس گھوڑے تو لتھے نے مشک پانی دی بری ہے یکدم گھوڑے اگلے پیر زمین تے مارن عباس آدن گھوڑا کے ہو گیا کے پیا کرے نئے ہیں آواز آدھے مولا پچھا ویک فوجاں دے بدل چھڑ گئے نہیں غازی پلٹ کے ڈٹھا ہے کرامی پہلا تلوار دوار کی دے غازی دا سجا بازو کلم ہویا ہے غازی دی اچھی کو کا یہ وانجوے علی اکبر دی ویل دوسرے حرامی کبے پاسو دوسرا وار کی دے غازی دا کبا بازو کلم ہویا ہے غازی دی اچھی کو کا یہ وانجوے اصغر دی ویل حرمل حرامی تیر دوار کی تے جڑا غازی دی آنکھیں چ لگائے ہے ادھا تیر غازی دی آنکھیں چ لگائے ادھا مشک چ لگائے ہے مشک چ تیر دا لگنا پانی زمین تے ڈلے آئے ہے یا ایمیں کیوں نہ آکھا عباس دی 32 سالاں دی محنت لڑی ہے ایک اور حرامی اگا ودے گرز دوار کیتا ہے غازی دے سر دے 2 ٹکڑے ہو گئے غازی تو زین چھٹی ہے تائیں دا پیا یاداں لتھا زین تو برکا بی بی زینب دا او جھک جلے آئی علام نشان او خاتون دے دے خیمے آوچ آئی وقیدہ ہوں بی بی رو کے آدھی ہے میں کوئی نہیں زامن تھوڑیاں بور کے آدھے او ہر بی بی خود نگران او میرا لہ گیا غازی زین تو آج کربل دے میدان آخری وین علم دی زیارت کرواں ٹوریا ہے میرا مولا حسین میدان چاہیا ہے ایویں کمر جھکی ہوئی ہے پھرا دلاش تے نہیں پہنچیا یا ویکھے پہلے غازی دا سجا بازو چایا اس کہیں فاصلے تو غازی دا کبا بازو چایا اس پھرا دلاش تے آیا ہے پھرا دا سر جولے جبایا اس اکھی وچو خون صاف کیتا ہے غازی دے بازے لے گیا دے غازی میری حسرت ہے آج میں نو ایک واری بھرا ساڑ اس پہلے غازی دی آواز آئے صدقے وے ویر کمر کیوں جھک گئی ہے صدقے بھائی صدقے آخری وین نے تیاری کرے نیاز حسین آواز آدھا صدقے وے ویر کمر کیوں جھک گئی ہے آواز آدھے غازی میں ایک گل سوچ دا ودا آواز آدھے کیڑے گل ہے کہیں ملے برا دے پاسے ڈیندے کہیں ملے سجے ڈیندے کہیں ملے کبے ڈیندے کہیں ملے آسمان دے پاسے ڈیندے پھر آواز دا چہرہ ٹیک کے آدھے جداں زین تو کوئی ہسوار لوے اولاندہ کوچ دے وچ ہاتھ باکے او ڈس کیویں لتھائے میرا چن غازی دو میں بازو کلم او آواز آئی پہلے سارے لڑے آئے او پیچھے پاس گن پیر رکابے او میں نو بابے آن لہایا ہے وچو نجف شرف دے او چمویر دے مسشہ بیرے آکھے تیری موت نے کمر نے